into shadows, uncovering the light. Guess with solid minds, no tales of the strange. In Sasquatch Secrets, they'll begin to rearrange. Truth's the vibe, we're on a quest. Look beyond the trees, what do you see? Factual stories redefining history. No myths, no magic, let's break the mold. With every word spoken, the wonders unfold. Footprints in the snow, not just a myth. Data and research was sift through the pit. Tales of a creature, but science leads the way. Nikki's quest for knowledge, come join and stay.
Oh, I took myself out. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Sasquatch Secrets, the show where science meets stories and curiosities, walks hand in hand with controversy. I'm your host, Nikki Colón, and tonight we're diving into a subject that has quietly and sometimes not so quietly divided the Bigfoot community for years. Public land, national forests, wildlife management areas, these are open to everybody. Hikers, hunters, campers, researchers, and yes, Bigfoot investigators. But as more people enter the field, tensions rise. Some research claim certain valleys, ridges, and trails as their research areas, and others say it's public land. Nobody owns it. So tonight, we're exploring the Bigfoot turf wars with ethical, what's ethical, what's practical, and what happens when two teams show up at the same location with very different expeditions and expectations. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Let me take a look and see. Let me turn this off, get it out of my face. Let me go to the top here. We had Grant in first. Hey, Grant, good to see you. And then we had Henry. Hey, Henry. Bat Mom. Hey, Tessa, what's up? Joe Dryden. Jen. There's Jen and Sandra Piper in the house. Who else do we have? Sharon. There's Miss Sharon. Right on time. Good to see you guys. I'm sure people will be filtering in, and looks like we got a lot of people who are lurking in the background. That's okay. So I did put out feelers for guests, but everybody's kind of busy, and there's a lot of Bigfoot Summit and all kinds of stuff going on. So if we get somebody to jump on, we get somebody to jump on. Otherwise, I'm going to go through this solo. No biggie. We'll deal with it. Let me check if I missed anybody. No, it doesn't look like I did. So, yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Let me move myself around a little bit, and we'll put up the slides. And who owns the woods? Does anybody own the woods? That's like one of the main questions that's been coming up lately. If you see feeds out there and you follow Facebook groups, and there's a lot of tension going on in a couple of different groups, and it has become the controversy, right? The main controversy. So I'm going to go through some of the things involved in that. And so first, I guess we should probably talk about what the different lands masses are, right? I mean, you have your public lands, which includes the national forests and the national parks, the wildlife refuge, the Bureau of Land Management, the wilderness areas, and what's that last wildlife management areas. So those are all. Some of them are state run, managed, but the purpose is typically for recreation, conservation, protection, habitat protection, and resource management. So, it comes into play as to who does anybody, when you're researching an area, have rights to those areas, which is a no. Okay, it's a hard no, but we're going to go through all those different things that I guess a lot of researchers or investigators say about their areas. And I can understand that there are a lot of people out there who say they have hotspots. And we kind of talked about this last week, but hotspots, they're trying to convey that they have an area where they are always seeing Bigfoot or running into Bigfoot evidence. Now, whether they're proving this with evidence, photo evidence, video evidence, whatever, that has yet to be seen. But a lot of people make claims, that they have hotspots. And we talked about the Pacific Northwest as being considered one of these hotspot areas for Bigfoot activity because of all the encounters that have been reported. And hotspots are where you put a hot pocket down after microwave it. That's called burning your hand off. So, that could be one of the claims that investigators out there will say, no, this is my area. It's my hotspot. And, and some people will either, tell them, well, I'm sorry, unless it's private land and you have permission to be on private land, then, you wouldn't be able to get access to that unless you also got permission from the landowner. That would be the situation there, which happens a lot. You have a lot of investigators who are on private land and who do have these permissions. So that they're kind of protected in that case. But many researchers also feel that their long-term studies in a particular area, it kind of gets them emotional. It's an emotional type of ownership to that area, and therefore they don't want to give it up. They feel like they worked hard for that spot, and for anything, if they think they're putting out a bunch of evidence, they're going to feel that way. They're not going to particularly want to share what their findings are. Grant says, I think a hotspot is somewhere in the Philippines. If I want donate money to for me to investigate, please let me know. I don't think they will, but anyway, the difference between, there's also this difference between permission and courtesy. That's something else we'll talk about a little bit later. But do we even have to? Should we have to ask permission? Or is it an ethical ideal that we should, as a good person, ask to go to where somebody else is at? So there's also that whole part of it. But conflicts happen in all the fields of science, okay? I know people who go bird watching, they're like, they're like crazy involved in their areas and don't like other people in their areas looking at birds, you know? So it happens all over. There's also, I know a lot of controversy with anthropology and dig sites, you know, claiming this is my site. No, this is anybody's site. This is that type of stuff. So it happens in all type of different fields of science where people are um, want the same areas. They want the same opportunity that some specific geographic area will hold. So, you know, that could be um, ongoing. It's something that I don't think will ever stop. It'll always be something investigators and researchers will have to deal with. But I know some of you have probably heard of research disputes areas, you know, especially along maybe the California, Northern California, all the way up to the Pacific Northwest, where researchers have, you know, said, no, that's where I go. That's my area. And I say that too, you know, up where I research my area, but it's anybody's area at any given time. There can be anybody out there, especially during hunting season. That area is a big elk area. So, you know I'm never going to quite be alone out there. There's always opportunity of having different people out there at any given time. And that it's none of my business whether they're there or not. You know, Bigfoot is kind of a niche subject. And I'm just hoping to be in the right place at the right time type of deal. But some people, you know, hands down say this is my area. And if you're going to be here, you should have asked me if you wanted to be here. And that's where we're kind of going with this is how far do we let that go? How far do we allow people to claim areas are theirs, you know, when it's anybody's? They do not have the land rights. They don't have any permissions or ownerships. They are strictly going off of that ethical part saying, well, I've been here for a long time. You should have at least asked me. And should they? You know, there's so many groups out there now, or even solo investigators, that I think there's enough places for everybody. And even in the same place, I think it's a good way to have checks and balance, right? If you have somebody in an area who's saying, oh, this week I went out there and, you know, I fed a Bigfoot right out of my hand, or I went and dropped off all this and they came in and they took my peanut butter and they left finger marks at the bottom of the peanut butter jar. Okay, you're getting stuff every weekend. You're saying you're getting stuff every weekend. And if somebody else goes in there and starts their own little feeding experiments and nothing happens time after time, you know, it's kind of, that's a balance. You know, why are you the only one who can go into an area and get evidence or get any kind of interaction going on? They'll say is because they trust me. They trust me. You know, I've habituated them to the point where they know me and they trust me. And I don't know. I think that kind of gets a little on the far-fetched side of things when that stuff happens. Because remember, for science now, and they're normally not science people, but for the end of science, for that side, you're looking for repeatability. You're looking for hypothesis that you could state and try to come up with answers for, and that you can repeat it over and over. You know, if you say Bigfoot does this, then you should be able to go out there and see them do that over and over and over, which is one of our big issues, right? Is that we can't do that. We just can't, because we can't even bring this the species to science, because we don't have a body. We don't have, that chunk of hair and skin to really go off of. We need to know it came from a Bigfoot body, and the only way to do that is to have that chain of evidence video happening where all that comes together. So a question for, if I had somebody here, I would ask, if you believed long-term researchers, do you think they develop territorial bias? Do you think that their area is going to be the better area? What do you guys think in the chat? You think that's just a natural occurrence, that people are going to be protective of their area? I think it's probably pretty good case that happens, and it happens a lot. Let me see what we got over here. Mike says yes. It looks like Bill is in the house. Good to see you, finding the trackway. And who else? I don't know. So that's another big thing, everybody wants their area to be the best area. And, whether it's producing evidence or not, I'm sure the psychology behind it would be, you don't want to end up in an area that you've been in for 10 years and have gotten zero, and nobody's giving you any kind of pat on the back, right, for not getting anything, and it's wasting your time. Would you be wasting your time? You don't want to feel that way. You want to think that what you're doing is research, it's gathering data, it's, all these things that make it worth going to a particular area. Some people have to stick with the same areas because they can't travel. They don't have decent transportation, or they're with a group who just do primarily that area. So there could be different reasons for this bias, but I don't think that by any means you can call ownership, on any kind of public land in any ethical sense. It's known that if it's public land, that's exactly what it means. And whether you've been in that area for years and years, that's your choice, right? You pick your area, you stake it out, and you think you're getting somewhere with it, and you stay. Yeah, you're right. Trackway says, think of it as your magic fishing spot. Fights have broke out over fishing holes, and yeah, you've heard about that. So, but does it make you your fishing hole? I don't think so. But in the chat, do you think people can claim a research area on public land? Yes or no? Do you think that's something that is it's logical. It makes sense that people do that. Can they claim that? It's because it goes on a lot more than you think. Right. Public land. So no, it's other public. And that's what we're talking about here is the claim to public lands. So, anybody out in the chat, have you ever been asked to leave an area by another researcher? I'm kind of curious to know, how that went down and did it cause a rift, issues? I'm sure it did. Mike says, I think the researchers don't want other researchers in their area because they are scared they might find something that they didn't know, or the Bigfoot might bond with them more. That is a possibility. They want the limelight, especially for areas that they've been in for a long time. Of course, they don't want somebody going in there and right off the bat, it hit it off and get some great video capture or some kind of, I don't know, something happens with them, some kind of encounter. So, but public land is public land. You're absolutely right. No one can claim it, and it's for everybody to use. And it does lead to community conflicts, right? That's where everything. If I was asked to leave, I wouldn't leave because I'm like, this is public land. You can be here, I can be here. I've never been in that situation, but that would be something that would be the first thing I would say is that I have every right to be on this land as you do. So there's not much they can do in the way of the law, because the law says that belongs to everybody. It's for everybody's use. That happens too, that you go to an area that maybe you think has, potential for Bigfoot activity, but it's inundated with campers and kids and noise and people running around. It may attract Bigfoot. You don't know. But, I think the less people, the better. So noise wouldn't be a big thing. So I would do exactly what you did and don't even bother with that area. I would go to another area with less people. So yeah, Tessa, I wouldn't leave. If I wanted to be there, that's where I would be. And they could pitch a fit all they want or go get the game warden or the forest ranger, whatever your land management, whoever is in your area, let them go bring them. They're just going to be told, hey, they have just as much right as you do to be here. So most Bigfooters don't get specific about their research. So how would you even know if you're in somebody else's main target area? Most don't, but a lot do. And it's not because it's publicly made. It's because you tell one person and they tell another person. It's because the grapevine works faster than the internet. And that tends to also cause rifts between individuals who say, hey, that was, not for sharing. That was not information that was meant to be shared with others. So I can see where that also will definitely cause a lot of grief between people, groups of don't share our location. This is our location. We like this location. It's nice, it's quiet, we can hike around this area, whatever. And somebody says, hey, we found a really good area, and oh, what's over here? And before you know it, they tell somebody else, and more people are going there. So Kaiju says, I own the woods. Tessa says, I would start singing, this land is your land, this land is my land. You're right. It's everybody's land. Bill says, less is more isn't always true. Good one. What the heck? Tristan, what did you send me? Oh my God. He sent me a picture of a Bigfoot tied to the top of a car. Oh my gosh. What else do we got? Sometimes we rent a whole slew of campsites to maintain some space. That I also have heard people doing. They'll rent out a whole area. Some campsites do not allow you to do that. And if you don't actually occupy the space before a certain time, the area is forfeited. Because that happened to us in Canada. Because I had another spot and we used it one night, but I had it for I had it for 5 and we only used it for 2 nights. So it got forfeited because nobody was parked over there, after nobody was there after that. Anyway, and I paid for the spot, and whoever got that spot paid again. So they make bank doing that. What else? Also, what was weird about that in Canada is that the person on the reservation had to be staying in that site. And I had gotten 2 sites. So I had to, it was a mess. I had to cancel one. Okay. And then at midnight, go back and repurchase that same one, hoping nobody would get it in Mike's name. That way we had 2 sites, each in our own name. It's a mess. I did it. I don't know how, but I managed to secure the site back at midnight. So some of them are pretty strict out there for actual camp areas. Now, when you're dry camping, I think it's first come, first serve wherever you're at. Don't go on private property. Well, some people love private property, get to know the owners, and then they give you free, roaming to the whole area, which is great. And then but you do have to know if they allow hunters on their property, because then you need to know what the dangers are. If there's going to be a whole lot of other people there in that area. In my opinion, timing is everything. I'm talking high pressure versus low pressure days. High pressure, I don't understand that one. So, okay, we talked about those already. I didn't even use a thing. So, community conflicts. So, we know there's been a lot of, the Olympic project, and there was some other people in an area, and then you have Bigfoot expedition in areas. And were they really in areas, or were they in somebody's backyard or in a ranch or what have you? All that stuff kind of comes into play too. Whose area is it? Were they really out, in the middle of nowhere, or are they just off a freeway? And whose area is it? Who owns it? That is happens all the time. But now blow-ups are public, right? They definitely come out in social media. And as a matter of fact, as you all know, we are going to be having one of these next week, where we are going to be doing we're going to be having Randy. Well, I should say we're going to be having Brent and Ulmer. Oh, what's his name? Oh my gosh. Will Ulmer on, because he had some Bigfoot footprints that he says were his, and Jason B. Miller posted them saying they were his. And we're going to find out, what the whole dealio is with that. Randy Harrington is supporting Jason, and I haven't gotten word back. I don't think either one of them will show up, but we're going to have the show no matter what. And we'll post all the evidence that has been secured about the photos, when they were first released, whose were they, what, when, the timeline, all of that. We'll go through all that. And I mean, I would love to have them on. I'm going to treat them fair. They're going to get their say. I've already had told Brent that if he goes off, then I'm going to mute him. We're going to do this with dignity and just let have their say, and he'd have his say, and we'll see what happens at the end, but I doubt it'll happen. I've been blocked by Randy, and I wasn't blocked. I just recently got blocked. So yeah, no, Kaiju, they have not responded, unless they responded to somebody else or something. And I didn't check my email, so I don't know. I didn't get any notifications. So, and I wasn't friends with Jason anyway. So I did hit the friend request, but I haven't been accepted. So it's pretty clear that they don't want anything to do with it anymore. They just want to have their side of the story. And we'll go through all that next week. But, they make the attacks quite personal. So that's why we're going to address it. And it'll happen. It's going to happen. But that's something that is also in one of my slides here, what we're going to talk about. But is these public blow-ups, and I mean, it stays on the internet. You post it, people have it, people save it. There's a way of finding stuff. So I don't get it that you're so inept or unable to do social media to not know that. It stays forever. It's ruined people's lives, the internet, seriously, because they post shit and it comes back to bite them. So Well, kaiju is pretty much, kaiju says, I don't understand why people can't just focus on Bigfoot subject and not each other. Because he stole somebody else's Bigfoot stuff. That's why. So if somebody stole all your audios, you wouldn't want to bring it to everybody saying, hey, that's mine. I captured that 6 months ago. You wouldn't want to do that. You would just say, okay, go ahead, take it. Take the credit for it. I don't think so. I don't think you would do that. I don't think you would do that at all. I think you spend enough time out in the woods where your stuff is your stuff. So that's what I'm saying. And I'm doing this show because that's what I do. That's what my channel is about. I do the stuff nobody else wants to do, or I give a platform to for people to come forward with issues that are in the community. I'm not the Bigfoot police. I'm not the Bigfoot mafia. I'm not anything. I'm a platform who likes to talk about Bigfoot. And I allow people to do that. So, and I mean, it is what it is. I don't talk about the encounter stories. I don't do any of that stuff. I talk about the research, the data, the things that are important to make a good discovery, and hoaxers and people who are not truthful damage the community. And you can ignore them all you want, but they're damage the community because thousands of research or newbies, let's just say newbies into the system, grab onto them and start believing them. And then they do more and more and more. We don't want that. I don't want that. Yeah, 5 years later, they're going to realize what's going on. But by then, it just starts this circle of hoaxing and untruthful research when we should be, building the community with integrity and honesty. And Bigfoot isn't out there every damn day. But there are people out there claiming that they see Bigfoot every day. Yes, they don't have 1 ounce or one little photo or anything of proof that had happens. So that's where, I come in to the whole picture. Is I'm giving just a platform. And some people don't like to hear all that negative stuff. That I totally understand. I knew that from the beginning when I first started this channel. And to be honest, I thought this channel would have been done within 2 years, and we're already going over 4. So although we may talk again and again over some things that come up that's what happens, is that we're going to continually try to educate new people coming in, to the community about the malfeasance that happens, because it happens a lot. And if you just want to be the believer, you just don't want to question anything, that's your right. You can absolutely do that. But that's not what happens on my channel, on Steve's channel, on Blake's channel, on Brent's channel, any of the Buckwas crew. There's a bunch of channels out there that are really truthful and honest, and they go out all the time. Jonathan's channel, Sasquatch Wizard, not finding Bigfoot every time he goes out there, but he's doing some damn good research, finding the trackway, people who are putting in all the work. So that's who. I'm not protecting them. I'm just giving them an extra chance to make it, I don't know, to support them, by trying to tell people, hey, you need to look out for this, because if you're not asking questions, what are you doing? If you really love the subject, then ask questions. Why? Where's the rest? Where's the rest of the video? Why do you have a 5-second video? And where's the rest? Where's the beginning and the end? And things have to make sense. They make sense. And just because they're not out there doesn't mean they don't exist. It just means they only want to skew the evidence in the way they want to present it and hide the rest. Scott Walker says, how in the animal world, different people go to war and battle each other. What are the chances to different Bigfoot groups and tribes go to war against each other to fight for territory? That can happen. I'm sure it can happen. I'm sure it has happened. I wish thousands of researchers and volunteers would search Washington together. I'd imagine there would be too many chiefs, too many egos. Absolutely. I was just saying, I wish people would stop focusing on each other and just do legit research and respect other people's research and data. Yeah, but that's not what's happening. That's really not what's happening. I mean, you have your niche, right? We have our little side and they have their side, and we're actually the smaller side. The science side is smaller than the woo side by far. I think. I don't know what you guys think, but I think that other side of the coin has got a lot more people, because they tend to believe in all the stories and the encounters and all that. So, too legit to quit. Mike says, I follow everybody and I share everybody's stuff. That's the only way you build a community. The arguments will always be there. The disagreements, that's what it makes a community. You're right. It does. All of that includes all of that. Is there any truth to the Bigfoot massacre that happened at Bluff Creek, California? I was watching the Patterson-Gimlin film. There's a picture of Bigfoot in the trees. Is it a male or no? No, Scott. There's zero evidence that the massacre ever happened. Had the massacre happened, we would already have the truth about Bigfoot. People would have been there, dug them up, and had physical evidence. That did not happen. Okay? Period. That did not happen. Plus MK's area that he said was the area that it happened was not even the right area. That has already been proven wrong. So don't, believe him if you want to, but he's done some amazing work on cleaning up some of the Patterson film, but that's about it. His assumptions and the things he sees, he's leading people. He tells people what to see. Braids in the hair and hemorrhoids and God knows what else. Okay. There is no evidence of any of that stuff. You cannot see any of that. The film is not in any kind of clarity that you could even determine that, even with cleaning it up. So, yep. Nope. And in my opinion, there was no other Bigfoot there. It was just Patty. If Patty was real. I don't need power. I am glad to help others and follow their lead. The goal and the most important thing other than our own safety. What? I was watching an episode of Finding Bigfoot. The girl client saw 13 to 14 foot tall Bigfoot on the side of the road when she went walking with her Labrador. Is it possible Bigfoots could get that tall? 13 to 14 feet? I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that. Where was this? Was it in Canada or Alaska? I think they're bigger up there. I think they have the potential to get in the 10, 11 foot range if they have big game. But I think it's highly unlikely. I think they stay in the adults stay in the 7 to 11 foot range, maybe 11 being the biggest. And that's just because of my beliefs in their body chemistry. I just don't think that they can support their weight if they get any bigger than that. They would have to have that's going off the basis that they're primate, okay? And they have a bone structure like us. They can't support their weight. They would have to be something else. Okay, so that would make a whole different lineage, something other than ape, primate, homo. They would have to have their own thing because their bone structure would have to change to support their weight if they were over 500-600 pounds. The mass alone, right, would change. So that's a whole different story. I have that show. You can go look for that show. I did a whole show about that. I can find it for you if you want to see that show. And I can explain exactly what I'm talking about. Well, yeah, there's Scott. They show a picture that kind of looks like Roger Patterson's face in the background, and there's another one with the big little Bigfoot, and they have all kinds of pareidolia pictures out there. The fact is we don't know. We weren't there. And our eyes and brain are made to make faces out of things. So it's pretty much impossible to go down that road because of that. You know, some of us are better at seeing pareidolia than others. Some just see the trees. So, Wadlow was 8, but don't forget, Wadlow died young. Okay. He had circulatory issues because he couldn't pump the blood all the way up to his heart and back down through his feet and back up. He had all kinds of circulatory issues that caused him all kinds of other issues that caused him to pass. So that's what I'm talking about. We're talking about animals that we think get to adulthood. Okay. And that is not conducive to having that type of lifespan. So, and also another point is that we're talking about animals that we think are so stealthy, we can't hear them. We can't hear them walking and approaching and running and how fast they are. People say they were so fast and quiet and all of that. Have you seen how Wadlow walked with a cane and very cumbered and very hard for him to walk? Look at the big basketball players. There's several very tall basketball players that are still kind of running, but they are very, very heavy-footed, running, labored. Their knees start to go in, you know, and they don't last very long. They're not in the sport very long because it just is kills them. So, Scott, if Patrick was real and killed, we would definitely know and see it. Any talk of a massacre is just talk. Yep, pretty much just talk. Nikki, if Bigfoot is real, what is your personal opinion of what it could be? So, there is only, I have some notes here because I have some notes on that. I have notes everywhere. But let me see. So I believe in the science, okay? And there are only a few realistic evolutionary scenarios, okay? You either have a relic hominin lineage, right? Where it's like a population of hominins, relatives of early Homo, split from the ancestry of modern humans a long time ago, like 2 million years ago. And they adapted because of, the forests and their elusiveness and all this. So they were rare. That's one, the relic hominin theory. Or they could be the undiscovered great ape relative, right? Instead of human line hominin, you have the Bigfoot might be like a previously unknown great ape species that evolved in North America. This would be extraordinary because there's no confirmed modern non-human great apes in North America today. Okay. And it's probably not possible. I have a guest who popped in.
Hey.
How are you? Let me move this
busy
there.
like a beaver.
Busy.
I didn't even realize it was 7 o'clock.
Well, it's good to hear you.
Yeah,
Had you asked me what I thought Bigfoot could be, and I'm going through my thoughts of, well, there's only like 3 possibilities to me of a realistic evolutionary track, and that would be, the relic hominin lineage, or the great ape, undiscovered great ape relative. And the third one is like a surviving Gigantopithecus like descendant. Okay. And for me, that doesn't blow either, because we all know that over time they have already started to study the teeth, and how most of Gigantopithecus was a bamboo eating type of large orangutan type of creature. Okay, so to me that kind of doesn't float either. Because I just don't believe in that. Now there is a fourth, okay, but I don't subscribe to it, and that would be this interdimensional being type of alien or whatever type of spirit animal, okay, if that's where you go. But that's not what I'm talking about. So for me, it's absolutely, I feel that it's something that took a turn 2 million years ago into its own tree, and its branch, and has come to be. And we don't know where that happened, because we don't have that fossil. We don't have that fossil line yet. That tree, it hasn't been found yet.
Yeah.
A lot hasn't been found yet. But that's mine, because I can explain how a primate homo came to be. I can't do that with dogman. I can't do that with mermaids. I can't do that with any other type of species. But when you have a primate that could possibly have that lineage, then there is that possibility that could happen. And that's where I am at with that right now, is we're going to need DNA to be able to prove any of that, because we're being speculating all of this at this point. But to me, it makes sense. It makes more sense than any of the other ones. you know. But yeah, John, we've been talking about community conflicts in regards to areas. Okay. Research
Okay.
areas.
All right. Yeah.
So we talked about how the majority of these places are public lands. Okay. And anybody can go on them. Nobody has ownership of these areas, yet we still find that there are conflicts in regards to researching. And moving right along, just so we keep going, is that public land versus personal research investment. Now, oh gosh, I turned the wrong page. Hold on. Go this way. Got too many pages. Emotions run high in the community when other researchers invade their spots.
Yeah.
You know, and does it come to, you know, asking permission? Do we need permission to take a hike, to look at certain places? You know, we don't. We don't need to do that.
Not technically, but an example on my end where I did contact a person to ask if he'd be all right if I traveled up in that area was just out of respect and dignity. And yes. I knew that I didn't need to ask. I knew it was public land. I knew I could go there. But because I knew that that gentleman had been up in that area and had, you know, was doing some work up in there, I just made a courtesy call. Yeah. I didn't expect to be told no. Right. And if I was told no, I would have respected that because there's enough room for me to go. I mean, there's other places that I could go to. But I did ask. And there's this same individual has been up in this other area for years and years and years, and everybody knows that. And even though it's a hot spot, quote unquote hot spot, you know, I just wouldn't go up there unless I called that person and said, hey, do you mind if I go up there and waller around? This is what I want to do. And I do. I know I don't have to. And there's tons of people that go up there that probably don't know this gentleman and or are going up there for other reasons other than, you know, searching for evidence of Sasquatch. There's people up there all the time. So yeah, you know, I mean, I guess just out of courtesy, it wouldn't hurt to give the person a shout, especially if you know they're doing a lot of work up there, or, you know, maybe they don't want the area to get disturbed because they're, you know, trying an experiment, doing something new, or feel like they're right on the precipice or something, you know. I know that up where I spend most of my time, I mean, I'm a little ornery, you know, I get a little grumpy. Just, it doesn't even have to be a Bigfooter. I mean, when I first started going up in research area too, I remember the trail going in there where we used to go camping and fishing all the time as a kid. Used to be a pretty good little path going in there. The first time I went up there in regards to the subject, I remember coming home saying, wow, like, I wonder if they reclaimed the pond, like killed it off, because like the trail was almost non-existent. There was hardly even a trail. It was all grown up. I couldn't even believe it. I'd never seen it like that. But for what I was about ready to embark on, it was great. Well, sometime between then and the next 2 years, that area hit the internet as a popular hiking area. And next thing you know, everybody and their brother started coming up there, especially in the fall, to just walk the trails, look at the leaves, see the pond. And that got under my skin. I mean, I was like a grumpy old man. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Get out of here. Like, what are you doing? And that's selfish on my part. So I can understand both ends of the stick. If you are involved in an area and heavily invested into it, you probably would like to have some privacy in regards to other researchers going up there, setting up cameras, doing night ops, setting up, a big operation. But on the other hand, these areas are public lands, and everybody has a right to be up there and enjoy Mother Nature.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of, I can see where it gets to be hard for some people to take that, because you've got different kind of researchers and investigators, and you're gonna have the ones who are like, no, I could go up there if I want to, and that's that. No, forget it. And then you're gonna have people like you who are saying, well, okay, I'll ask, and if they say no, I'll just go to the next ridge over, and nobody will know any, whatever.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Yep.
Unfortunately, there's not a lot of people like you. I think there's going to be more people that are going to do whatever they want to do. And
that's unfortunate.
And that's, you get a lot of conflict out of that.
They lack empathy.
We're saying, are those researchers gatekeeping? Yeah. I don't really think so, because then we would have evidence. I think somewhere along the line they would have to release something saying, no, this is our area because we got this and this is what's happening. But no, there is not a whole lot of that coming out. There's a whole lot of claims.
Yeah, right.
But not a whole lot of evidence to support those claims. So if someone's encroaching on another team's area, is it disrespectful? Can it be considered? Or is it just coincidence? Are they just maybe going, making a grid, and they're hitting one area up at a time, and all of a sudden they're in somebody's area that they didn't even know?
Yeah, I mean, if it's accidental and you don't even know that somebody is actually up there spending time and doing work up there, you don't know. So you're not really doing anything wrong. If you were then confronted, you got to have that conversation, and then it's going to boil down to what kind of person you are and how important it is to you to be up in there. I mean, like you say, a lot of people just, they're all about themselves and they don't care. So they're just going to go there anyway. And
right.
Piss off. Public land.
They have the law on their side. They can be there just as much as the other person. So permission, expectations can, I think they can kind of harm the scientific progress, because you don't know what kind of experiments or what that, home researchers doing, what they're doing out there. I know a lot say, they're habituating, they're feeding, they're, doing all this stuff, and you coming in is ruining all that. And, now they've moved on, and you have that issue.
Yeah, I would imagine it probably gets pretty heated. I mean, I've heard a few things here and there, and things that have happened in the past. I've seen the stories and stuff. They do get pretty upset when you cross paths in the wrong areas. I mean, Jesus, it's a hobby, for crying out loud. An undiscovered primate roaming around North America. If you aren't right on the precipice of bringing in a body, or you've been up there casting tracks for a year and a half, or possibly even it's truthful that you're habituated a family, which brings me to something real quick. We don't have to go off on a tangent. Tom Cottrell.
Uh-huh.
Tom Control. He was on,
Yeah.
wasn't he on Beauty, Back to Beauty? What is the name?
Oh,
Flash of Beauty.
yeah.
Flash of Beauty.
Flash
Okay.
Beauty.
Tom Control. I've heard the name, but as he spoke about the experiences that he has, and one of them was that he was up there in the forest and such, and then he came across please forgive me on detail, he came across one Sasquatch, and the Sasquatch somehow communicated with him, said it's okay, you can come. And then he went there, and they was having like what we would call services for a deceased.
Yes.
What does
Yeah.
everybody think of that?
He's been welcome into the Bigfoot royalty. He has attended weddings. He's attended Bigfoot weddings. He's attended Bigfoot births. He makes a pilgrimage up to their area, supposedly. But as far as I know, Tom Cottrell has been in a wheelchair for years now, or in a he has a walker. So I don't know how he's doing all this anymore.
I see.
But yeah, no, I don't believe a word he says. So they're too far out that he, is allowed to do all this. And I put him clearly on the woo side, the king of woo, right next to Dr. Johnson. So
yeah. I mean, it was quite something else to hear that, and seemed pretty serious about it. And I was just curious because I really didn't have any other insight other than what came out of his mouth right there. I only just heard of the fella. Never heard of all that.
Transferred him through his mind and shit and all kinds of stuff. So,
all right. Okay. Well,
so
sorry to get off topic there. Just
no, that's fine. I'm sure Kaiju, he is a nice guy, really great. He tried to run over one time. He's the guy who tried to run Brent over in his wheelchair.
Oh, great guy. Yeah. What a guy. Well,
don't believe what he says. He's had books. He has books and all kinds of stuff and a lot of followers. And more power to you. You go follow. You do that. But
if a guy like that had something going on and he was, right into that, deeply fresh, right? Now I could understand a guy like that saying, hey, look, come on, give me some space. I've been putting a lot of work in up here. I've got all these things going on. I might be right on the precipice of something, or, let's just work within the box that any one of those meetings with a Sasquatch is truthful. And I'm not saying it is not. I'm just saying let's work within the box that it may have been. I could understand that man saying, please don't come up here and mess this up. Now, that would be me, right? And I would not go up there. And I would hope that even some arrogant, cocky person who just thinks, piss on you, it's public land, I'm going up there anyway because I want to get a piece of the pie. I would call that guy an asswipe, and some space. Again, I'm not backing what Tom Control is saying, but using that for an example, if it was something in depth like that, I think people should give the other folks a little space. Like with Matt Larson, I think when he was down there in the Florida corridor, he was really working on a culmination of things all coming to a head. He felt he was on to something. And if I remember correctly, I remember him in a video mentioning to some of the Florida guys, give me some space. Not those words, but I could respect it. Absolutely.
Right.
And I would be pissed off.
I can understand that.
And stepped on my toes like that. I'd be pretty upset. It ain't for life. For a little time,
I think that I'm not quite in that position where I more come from the side of wanting, if I had the ability, Okay, like you said, to go up to these areas myself and check these things out and whatever. And I had that unlimited money and I had the time and had the, the ability to do this, that I would want to go do it myself. I would go. I would be that person. I would be that person to go see what kind of validity they have to what they are claiming, because great claims need great evidence, and
Yes, they
that's
do.
something that I stick with. And them saying, oh, but they don't like to be recorded, they don't like to have cameras, they don't like that, so I does not work. It does
Yeah.
not work in the scientific realm.
No.
So it doesn't happen. For me, that doesn't happen. Now, it would be, I wouldn't be up there, causing problems. Because number one, I don't think he ever is in that area, period. I think it's all made up. So I have a feeling nothing to it at all.
Yeah.
Now, Dr. Johnson does have an area, and I know people have gone to that area, including Adam Davies. And I hope Brent got to talk to him. I think it was today, was that summit.
Oh yeah, I saw he was headed out towards the Pacific.
Hopefully he got to talk to him. He was going to try to talk to him about the Bigfoot tree and some other things. And I'm more curious about, Dr. Johnson's area and what he has to say about the portal that Dr. Johnson had. But things like that, I think anybody should be able to go and check it out and say, hey, you really got this? You don't got this, and
yes,
because I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, I agree with that too. If you're going there with investigative intent to verify what somebody else is presenting to the public, yeah, that's all fair game. I wouldn't
be respectful. Just like when Brian King went up with Todd Standing, he did it in a very respectful manner. Yep. He went invited. He went with open mind and went, and he still doesn't believe it. He came back saying, I still don't believe, he sees or has these encounters and all this stuff. But I went and I checked it out for myself, and I didn't see anything to convince me one way or the other, and that could be the whole case. But I think there's a way to do that.
Sure. Yeah, almost a responsibility to, if you're in that area and there's some, mischief.
He didn't show up. Holy cow. Wow. He didn't show up to the summit. What? Adam Davies is traumatized about the Bigfoot tree and its potential to damage his credibility. Most likely, yes. Yes. I'm sure.
Yeah.
And that's actually another good example of permissions and encroaching on people's areas, because that girl, what was the girl's name? Brent's friend. What was her name again?
I cannot think of that lady's
oh my
name.
God, I'm brain dead right now.
Well,
she said that was her area. She didn't want anybody there without her being there or without her permission. And it was a public parking area. Lori Simmons. Yes, Lori Simmons. It's a public parking area. You don't have any rights to any of that. So that's what I feel is ridiculous. That I don't have to tell you what if I'm going to a place like that. Yeah. And
you should be able to ask people to give you some space, knowing that if it's public property, you don't have a leg to stand on. But when you start telling people that they can't go to public land, well, you're probably not going to get a very welcome answer.
Yeah. I know she had alternative motives. She was working on a show or whatever she was working on, and she didn't want to ruin it, but it was already ruined. So, no. But anyway, that's where all this leads. it leads to another thing of collaboration versus competition. And we're going to go hand in hand with this next week on the show, with the Hoaxing Accountability Show with Brent and Will Ulmer, and go through how things can take a turn. You know, we know one side and we've heard from the other side, but we really wanted to try to get all the parties in the same place to discuss this. Yeah. Now, Randy hasn't gotten back to me, and Jason hasn't gotten back to me. They've blocked me now, so I don't, but I put enough notice out there for people to get in touch with them, and it would be up to come into the show, wanting to give their side of the story. And that's all that's all I'm asking, is that they come, and Brent will be helping Will to defend his photos, and Randy could be there helping Jason, because he seems to think Jason is 100% right, that he was the one who took those photos. So
it might be good for Randy to get here, because if it isn't that way, at least then some light, can shine down the tunnel into Randy's brain, because Randy's done a lot this year, right out of the gate earlier this year. He's really put in a lot of work this year. And I mean, I'm not friends with Randy. I know of Randy. I've been, I give him a thumbs up and say, great job. I watched some of his videos, and I think recently I don't know, I haven't seen anything here recently, but he was getting out into the woods and stuff and earlier this year. And I was thinking to myself, well, shit, man, he's really putting in some time this year. Good for him, man. And it would be a shame, and it would be a shame to see him standing up for somebody who's scamming the public.
Right.
Just because, his personality wants to stick up for the guy, and maybe all Randy needs is just the right information and set it straight here. Because, you don't want to go down with the sinking ship just out of pride, friend or not, or I don't know if he's friends with the guy or it's family or something. I don't know.
I think they're friends now, but there's a lot more to it, and we're going to go through all that next week, and hopefully I'll have all the evidence up, and so you guys can make your own decision on what's right or wrong. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what evidence Randy and Jason have showing that those photographs were his to begin with. I have a feeling that Will and Jason were friends at some point and had an understanding that anything that took place at this pond or lake, whatever it is, that they were collaborating. That it was an assumed collaboration.
Oh,
it really wasn't. I think that's what's going to happen. I don't know, but that's what makes sense to me, that could happen. And that's why it makes sense that for Jason and Randy to come, to say that, and then things will make sense.
Right.
It would make sense. And it would
just come here and tell the truth and put the stuff down on the table, throw the receipts down, and then let
nobody's going to blame Jason or Randy. They're going to, okay, you had this understanding that it was shared.
Yeah.
And that's the end of it. But that, I don't know. So I don't know what'll happen. I don't know if this week they will try to contact me and say they do want to come on or don't want to come on.
It would be so much better if they did, because
it would
just be a dark cloud over his head for a long time if you don't get it settled right now.
And like several of you have said, why can't we all just get along? It's because they attacked after that, after Brent made the comments
Right.
or supporting Will, okay? And then they got personal with Brent, which people love to do. They love to attack Brent because they don't know that there are over 20 Brent Dills on the internet right now, and one of them's a really bad person out of Idaho and
Okay.
Texas. He's a really bad person, so they are trying to claim that's him. I did
All
track
that's
down
going
the
on there.
photo of that guy,
Ugh.
but you know, he's a bad guy and he's bald and he kind of looks like Brent, but
Oh
you can
dear.
tell it's not Brent. But
No.
they're trying to claim that's him, and they're attacking not the subject, but the person, right?
Yeah.
So that's why all this has gotten where it's gotten, because
Oh,
they
that's too
can't
bad.
do
I
that.
didn't know all that.
Yeah, we publicly need to go out to prove to them their slander is incorrect. They're trying to make him out to be this other Brent Dill. And I found a lawyer in South Carolina, Brent Dill. I found so many Brent Dills. I'm like, holy cow, you would never think.
Who's the real Brett Dill?
But this Brent Dill's been in the same place for 20 years, 25 years. So
Yeah.
you would think they would figure that one out, you know?
Brent's the first one to give a high five and say good job and check this guy out when you're being truthful and doing good
Right.
work. But if
Mhm.
Brent can sniff out some funny business, he'll go search for them pictures and he'll start, digging things up just like you do. And
Right.
he ain't got any problem with bringing the truth out to the public and challenging to debate that. And if you get challenged and you're making claims that you have this evidence, you should just bring your evidence forward like an adult and have that conversation. And then if you can't do that and then you're going to run your mouth, well, I mean, I don't say much about you.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody can run their friggin' mouth, Everybody can run their mouth.
Right.
Bring the
Hey,
receipt.
Bill, we need to start that like on social media, on Facebook. Just go to your pages and say, I am Brent Dill. Everybody needs to do that across the board. That would be hilarious. Oh my God. Everybody start putting posts, I am Brent Dill. I think that would be
Goodness.
hilarious. Yeah, because I could see where groups who end up wanting to collaborate, because they have the same area. They want to be in the same area due to, I don't know, sightings and encounter reports and all that, and they know that's somewhere they want to go, and it's public land. So they get together and they say, hey, I'm gonna be here. You want to collaborate, you want to do stuff together. And then maybe stuff starts to happen. Maybe, they start getting weird stuff, and now maybe egos start to take hold, and no, I want to post that. No, I want to post that. But the kicker is this particular picture from Will and we'll say Will's. I don't know, kind of looks like a double bear step to me, and I'm not even a print person or a tracker, and I think it looks like that. So there's that argument of why are they going so far, and it could just be a simple bear track they're fighting over.
Yeah,
you
right
know?
on.
So
Turns out, it could be turning into a personality clash, just
right.
and yeah, what a pisser.
It does all that. It confuses the data. It confuses the whole feel, the aura, of going out and having fun with it. Because I think we get a lot more done when we're having fun at what we're doing.
Right.
And if we know we're going to be causing issues doing an investigation or a,
Yeah.
overnight or whatever in somebody else's area and they don't want you there and you're doing it, then you know that you're going to be creating tension,
Yeah.
So is it
well, I mean, if you said those guys, they're getting all bent out of shape and start lashing back out at Brent, I mean, all he did, from what I've seen, I only saw just a post where he showed the two pictures, which I really didn't have time to like zoom in and look at what's going on. I kind of briefly read and gave him a thumbs up, and I said, okay,
Yeah.
well, this is going on. I don't know about my business. But I'll tell you, in my life's experience, when somebody gets confronted about something they've done or they have, and they're given that opportunity to, well, let's talk about it. Maybe you made a mistake or something, that's not your picture. The people that get all bent out of shape and start resorting right to running their mouth and calling names and freaking out, in my experience, they're usually lying. When they get all bent out of shape like that, because if you just made an honest little mistake or you weren't quite sure, then you start all of a sudden start thinking to yourself, man, where did I get that picture? Oh shit, or something like that.
Yeah.
You would have that conversation with the
Right.
person, because you'd be like, well, hold on, let's get this fixed real quick, because maybe I did make a mistake, and I just say, oh shit, I'm sorry. But when
Yeah,
someone
right.
gets all bent out of shape and starts doubling down on that, they're usually full of shit.
Yeah, I think so too. I totally agree with
I really would not want to see, if I'm understanding this right, there's an individual that made claims and has a photograph that is potentially not his. And the other individual that it supposedly is his has recognized that, and Brent recognized it and said, hey, let's wait a minute here.
Yeah.
I would hate to see Randy Harrington go down with that ship, man, because I've always thought pretty good of Randy. I think he really should think this out.
Yeah.
Either way, I mean,
And it's weird how Randy got involved in that whole thing.
yeah, it just
I
doesn't
think
seem
it's
like
just
Randy.
because he he interviewed him initially. We know that he initially interviewed Jason, and then they became, I guess, friends. Whether they've researched physically together, I don't know.
No.
But I'm sure this week when I start doing all my research, I'll find that out. So anyway, that's gonna be tedious to get all that stuff on slides, and so we can talk about it. I don't know if it's going to be a super long show or a super short show. No idea at this point what's going to happen with that. But we will clear up some things with Brent, and I'll go through stuff that I found about him. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you were a lawyer too, And he's like, oh my goodness.
And now these people that are lashing out at Brent, are these like the fans? Or is it
it's pretty much just Randy. It's pretty much just Randy and Jason. Yeah. But Jason is the one who actually put out the slander of him finding some website that said Brent Dill and posted it without verifying it was really him. So
they need to get to know Brent a little bit better. I mean,
yeah, and they don't.
He's a good man, that Brent. He's a good man. But he could be your friend for 10. This is my opinion. He could be your friend for 10 years. And if he's standing there and you just lied to someone, he's going to call you out on it right there. He is not going to put up with that shit. If he sniffs it out, he's going to call you out. I mean, I respect that.
Right.
You can't get mad at a guy that just wants the truth to be put out there. And if you're calling names and throwing rocks and stones, man, just putting yourself, you keep going lower, lower, and lower. And that's
Yeah,
no
and
good
it's
for your
true.
life.
You know,
Yeah.
that is just the
So
truth.
good.
You say you never heard of Jason Miller, and I hadn't either before this whole event. But as I started to look up who he was, he's been on Untold Radio and he's been on
Oh,
several podcasts. And I
okay.
was like, wow, I never even know who this guy was.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there's a lot of investigators out there and researchers that I don't know
Oh,
about.
yeah. Yeah. There's
And
a ton of them.
but he's even involved in the what do you call it? Doug Hychek's Legend Meets Science 2, supposedly.
Hopefully not with those
This,
photos.
this wouldn't come out too great on his end, you know.
Yeah. I mean, unless they're his, but I don't know, man. I
Unless
mean,
they're his.
when you look
You're
at that
right.
old, yeah, when you look at the fella who's claiming, you know, those were my photos that you got there. Those two photos look pretty close. I mean, I haven't put them under a scope or something like that, but they look like the same photo. So somebody's not, or like you said, could be just.
Those are the same photos for sure.
They
The
really
whole
do look
question
like
is going to
the
be
same.
who posted them first and whose camera were they from. That's what
Yeah,
it comes down to.
yeah,
Who literally took those photos,
yeah.
you know, and we'll come down to that.
Yeah,
And
somebody ought to have the original, right?
yep, somebody's got to have the original. So
There's a little
that's
bit of,
for sure.
yeah, that would
So,
be interesting to bring that up.
have you ever collaborated with a group in
Well,
your
I mean,
area?
I thought I was with Todd Standen, you know, that's what I thought I was doing when I started paying my dues at Discovering Bigfoot, you know. I was pretty proud of all that. I mean, I just
Uh-huh.
naive, you know, but you know, that's I thought I was part of the team, you know, and that was pretty exciting.
Really?
Yeah.
When was
Well, so when I first got into it, that was really I'd have to go back. I have a whole damn folder on it. Give me just a second and I'll look at some of the paid dates or this might be all just Todd Standing here. Jake Collection, Discovering Bigfoot, Todd Standing. Donations. March 12th, 2021. September 16th, 2020. Let me go right to the back because that's probably how I stack everything. November 6th. Jesus, give me my glasses. November 8th, 2021. What was this? GoFundMe. Yeah, so I mean, 2000. Oh, let's select a membership level. Here we go. Select a membership level is Discovering Bigfoot is creating absolute proof Bigfoot exists. Select a membership level. Bronze. I went for $5 a month. I think oh no, this is just the ones. $10 a month. No, gold, $20 a month. Recent posts. Some pictures of Jake and Jane. Todd and the Crick. Oh, Jesus, I forgot all about that. That's when I found out that he was in New York. He was right over here in Long Lake with, oh, damn it, I can't think of the guy's name. He's with him all the he's still with him quite a bit. Doggone, I can't remember the kid's name. But, no, either way, so that, yeah, I was trying to, you sign up, as a membership, and the way he was talking was like, you know, I can't do this on my own, guys. You know, we got to cooperate together. And Kyle's his name. Oh, that there's a little more serious here. I can't do that. Yeah, so I guess, right, that's the date. So early 2020. And
Wow.
what did he call it? Cooperation. Cooperation. Yeah, I think that's what it was called, right? What do you call it? Help me out here. You need to not cooperate. What's the word when you're
Collaborate? A
collaborate?
collaboration?
Yeah, that's not the word. I know what collaborate, but oh shit. Come on, brain.
Co.
Not a coalition. Well, if it comes to me, it will. But either way, so yeah, so I went to discovering Bigfoot. I signed up as a member level, because I mean, I'm
Yeah.
so new to that stuff, even though the computer stuff and all that. I mean, I was a drywaller. I mean, computer went as far as sending an email out and getting an email back. And I had to go to my sister even to figure out. I didn't even know what the file folder was. He's like, oh, just hit that. That brings you to File Explorer, and that's how you do everything. I'm like, what the hell is that? So, I mean, like, I didn't know nothing. Yeah, and it was exciting, yeah. And I thought I was part of that word's bugging the shit out of me because he always used to say it.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought. I was part of.
You were just part of his group, his little.
Yeah, that's what I thought, man. Yep, that's what I thought. And and as things float along, I was in the chats all the time and stuff. And one way, shape, or manner, I ended up getting invited to host his after chat. So after Todd's live shows, there was an after chat to continue on. And there's
Wow.
a really nice fella that was kind of like second in command, if that's how you want to say it. And his name was Phil. Real nice guy, real good guy. And then there was Amanda. Amanda was like Todd's right hand man or lady. Excuse me.
Yeah.
She was amazing. And then she kind of stepped away. She kind of disappeared a little bit. Then I was talking with Phil, and then they got me all set up, with all the computer stuff and everything I had to do so that I could be in control of what was going on. And then after he'd have his live show, that we do the after show. And actually, if he's in here, Rocker Gepta.
Oh,
He could be in here in the chat. Rocker would damn near every time be there with me, and it was really him and I that would carry that, answering people's questions.
I had no idea about that.
Yeah, I have. Like, I still have all the sheets with all the passwords and all the stuff I had to do. And then I was keeping track every show, what we were talking about, and questions that people were asking. And I'd go find the answers. So I'd have it for them for the next week. And then, yeah, it was pretty exciting. It was pretty cool. So, I mean, yeah, I did. I thought I was part of a cooperation, if that's the word for it. Yeah.
Jeez. And now?
Oh, I got to tell you, I mean, even though I still feel like Steve is holding the ace in his hand, or a couple of them, or all of them. But I don't know. I wish he'd share that with me, because what right now is, if I was forced to write down what I really think about Todd Standing and everything that happened, I would say that he probably he may have some things in his life that he's been devious about. But I just cannot bring myself to believe that that man did not spend an immense amount of time in the woods, and I think it is very likely that he had encountered Sasquatch. And it may be that some of the footage he has is authentic.
Uh-huh.
It may be. But I could be completely wrong. And that's based on week after week and night after night of absorbing his every word in his podcasts, and then hearing him repeat what he was talking about 6 months
Yeah.
later, waiting for him to slip up. His stories always were rock solid. They didn't change.
He's quite the orator. He knows how to talk.
He
You know,
does.
he knows how to get people to listen.
Yeah.
So that was part of his, I don't know, gift, you know, if you want to call it that, of how he could talk to people and try to convince people and make them, you know, want to be on his side. So,
well, I think he really put in the time. He really put in the research. I think he had some experiences. And then I think at some point he thought to himself, he started seeing dollar signs and a path to get there. And there was things that he had said that, you know, as far as, you know, all the camera equipment and setting up, what was it, standing studios or something like that.
Something, yeah.
That he needed to utilize all of the equipment and all of the everything that he was doing to get some money back. I don't know, man. I don't know, you know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I just wish I knew if that picture of Jake was real and the one of Jane. And then there's, I think there's Joshua, all J's, or Jeremiah or something like that. There's another one.
I just say Blinky and Leatherface.
Yeah. I mean, geez, what can you say about the one there, the one with the dark face? I mean, Steve matched it up with the mole, and, you know, I mean,
yeah.
I don't see Steve coming online talking shit like that without being able to back it up. So, you know, the better part of me is like, okay, so it's just, I wrestle with it. I really do. That's I guess where it's at. I think he had good intentions. I think he did the research, and I think he had experiences with Sasquatch.
He's out there. He's definitely out there, boots on the ground. He does go out, you know. There's no question about that. I think he did have some type of experience out there, and I think he wanted to duplicate it, and he just couldn't. So he did it.
You said it in a lot less time with a lot less words. Thank you.
I think his intentions for protecting the species were okay.
Yep. Yeah.
I think that was fine too.
Yep.
But there just seems to be a whole lot of red flags in the stuff he puts out, including, you know, newspaper want ads for actors, and having the fireman come forward saying he was in a suit, having the gorilla hands found in the back of his four-wheeler. You know, there's just stuff. There's just stuff that makes you go, I don't know. Makes you wonder about that. But it coming to an end, do you think that there should be some kind of researcher code of conduct? Do you think that would ever work?
Well, you know what? Yes, I do think that would be a good thing to have, because then law-abiding citizens will follow those guidelines. But just in
Right.
regular society, we have laws when we have people in jail. There's always going to be the bad apple. But yeah, I think researchers' code of conduct it would be a good thing to have, and I think that if some very respected people and the up and coming respected people, or that will be respected, follow that, then the
Right.
newcomers will see that as, okay, that's my goal. Follow the straight and narrow and be
Uh-huh.
respectful in the community. I think that'd be
Right.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would buck it, but in the same manner, I think people who are out there who are already doing respectful investigations and research, it wouldn't be any problem for them because they're already following guidelines, you know, of science. And being a person of science, you tend to go towards rules and following methods and stuff like that. So I wouldn't see it really hurting the more scientific community part. But
Mm.
those who, are out with bigger egos and are out for the clicks and views and out other, they have other priorities.
Mhm.
I could see that not working at all,
No.
and they would tend to probably say, I can do whatever I want, whenever I want.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's the
there's
only
pretty
way
much
that
nothing
works.
to do
You
about
can't
that.
have borders. You can't have borders on all that. You got to
Yeah,
have a lot of open space and no
right.
restrictions.
Right. I mean, we all want the respect and safety and communications, and
Yeah.
we want data integrity. If everybody could do that and to share, what their findings are and really try to come up with areas that we think we could really bring the species to the world, we want that.
Yeah.
But, in the same time, it has a cost,
Yeah.
and not everybody would do that for sure. Any questions out there? Anybody out there got any questions? What other questions did I have? I mean, I don't know what the guidelines would be. That would be way beyond my pay grade, of what that would look like, other than uh, those initial things I said, the respect and communication, areas that you're in,
I know the number one rule:
the number one rule. What is the number one rule?
thou shalt not
Not,
hoax or
yep,
lie ever.
ever. Yep. You shall not
God
deviate
bless you,
from the
Thomas.
facts. For real.
That's
That
right.
is the number one
That's
rule.
right. Yep.
Um, let me see. What do you guys think out there in the chat? Do you think that would ever fly, a code of conduct for researchers? Yes, no, you don't care.
I had actually mentioned a couple of years ago, maybe not even a couple of years ago, but I had thought, so I don't know, maybe on a video. Okay, everybody watch Jumanji, the movie Jumanji, with Dwayne
Yeah,
Johnson in there,
yeah.
and they all
Huh?
okay. When they on their chest and the card comes up, bloop, bloop, and it gives them the picture of who they are and their stats and everything else like that.
Uh-huh.
Imagine if in this community somehow we had developed that. So, if somewhere in YouTube or in social media land, you have there's your identification, and it kind of tells, what your, scientific based, what's that score,
Yeah.
this, that, and then gives you a score down all
Uh-huh.
these different categories. and then an overall score based off of, I don't know what, like the whole community could vote on. So, I mean, think you would, I mean, people like trophies. They like to come in first. They like to be, you know, they like a good credit
Yeah.
score, you know, kind of like that, right? So I thought that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know how the hell to do it, but
Oh, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. But let's see. What did you say there, Cryptid? Steve says, I think Nikki's guidelines presume someone is doing research instead of action drama.
Yeah, right.
For real. Oh gosh.
It would have to be amongst a small knit group. Like you isolated it down to the scientific based individuals that are trying to practice, you know, good scientific methodology. Put that out into the entire community, and like you said, holy shit. Like you couldn't get nobody to agree to nothing. It would just be a shit show.
Yeah, it would be a mess. It would definitely be a mess. But thank you for coming on, Jonathan.
Yes,
it's always good to have you on and chat with me. So it wasn't alone. Everybody was kind of busy today. But in closing, so tonight's conversation took us deep into the heart of the woods, not chasing Bigfoot, but examining something far more human: territory, ego, respect, collaboration. These issues shape how we investigate the unknown. At the end of the day, nobody owns the forest, but everyone can own their behavior. And in a field that already struggles with credibility, how we treat each other may matter just as much as the evidence we gather. So, this is your reminder: curiosity is free, public land is open, but respect costs nothing and pays back everything. So thanks to my guest, Jonathan, Sasquatch Wizard Anorandax, for coming on and sharing his thoughts, our live chat, and everyone listening. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, keep your curiosity sharp, your integrity intact, and your boots muddy. This is Nikki Colón, and you've been listening to Sasquatch Secrets. See you guys in the next chat.